Hello, Elsie. Hello, Elsie. Hello, Lakshmi. Yeah, I can't hear you clearly, Lakshmi. Looks like your connection is a bit weak. All right.
Hi, I'm here.
All right. Hello, Letabo. So I couldn't log into the regular Zoom link for the class. I had to create another one. Hello, Kate.
Hello.
Hope you're okay, Kate.
I'm okay. Just okay. I'm fine. What about you?
I'm good. You sound really tired.
Um, I, w- I'm okay. We had a submission yesterday, so I kind of celebrated by just watching a lot of videos until late in the morning. I'm a bit late today. That's why I sound tired, but I'm good.
Okay. So Kate celebrated doing the submission yesterday by having a binge on.
So please, we can hear you.
Kate just said she celebrated. She celebrated doing her submissions yesterday by watching plenty of movies.
I did. It was
Can
very
everyone hear
therapeutic.
me?
I hear you.
Elsie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Letabo, can you hear me? Letabo, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but can you hear me?
Yes.
So Lakshmi, looks like everybody can hear me except you. Amy, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Great. So, how did you all celebrate your submissions? Kate celebrated. Amy, Gatwi, did you also celebrate doing your submissions yesterday?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Amy, Gatwi.
Unfortunately, we didn't have that much time to celebrate because we had another assignment to submit. the next day. So it was just a yay celebration.
Hmm. Elsie, did you celebrate doing your submissions?
I slept.
You didn't celebrate? So, Laxmi and Wema, Kate said she celebrated doing her submissions. And I'm asking everyone else, how did you all celebrate doing your submissions? If at all you also celebrated. So Laxmi, did you celebrate? And if you did, how did you celebrate doing your submissions?
It's a bit
Okay,
quite
so
tight.
we can barely make you out, Laxmi. The connection is weak, so we can barely make you out. It's all, yeah, the sound's coming through, but it's not clear at all. Wema, did you celebrate doing your submissions?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did. What did you do?
Um, Two things. I went for a run. Was probably like the most like light run because I wasn't like thinking of submitting anything during that time, so that was fun. And then I cracked open a bowl of ice cream. So
And a bowl of ice cream.
yeah,
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Went for a run, meaning that you were really stressed.
yeah,
Yeah, you had another assignment, Laxmi, but you did submit that one too. So it was on to the next assignment. And after that next assignment, you didn't celebrate at all, Laxmi. Hello, Kotum. Welcome. Kotum, Moara, can you both hear me?
Yes, sir.
Moara, I can hear you, but your voice sounded a bit far away from your mic.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Slightly better, just slightly. Kotum, how are you? Hello, Kotum, can you hear me? I can't hear you, Kotum. All right, so we are in week 12. But as you know, we missed two classes. We missed a class today. I had a presentation to do at the University of Switzerland, and we missed the class on Easter Monday. So because we missed those two classes and we need to catch up with those two classes, we would have to do that next week. Now, this is the thing. We could do a 2-hour period next week where we know that we've covered everything. Or we could do a 1-hour period on Monday and a 1-hour period on Tuesday that we know we've covered everything. I will leave it to you between today and tomorrow to decide how we cover the 2-hour that we have for next week. But I really need to hear back from you tomorrow, by the end of the day tomorrow, on how we cover the 2 hours we have left next week. I really need to hear from you on that. It's compulsory that we need to cover those 2 hours. It's mandatory, actually. It's mandatory that we cover the 2 hours for the 2 periods that we missed. It's mandatory by the university regulations, by Higher Education Authority regulations. It's mandatory. All these classes are recorded, and they would see that, oh, African Studies 2, 2 hours per week, they did this. So for the 12 weeks, it's supposed to be 24 periods. But they would see that it's only showing 22 periods. And the question will become, where are the other 2 periods? Where did they go? So it's mandatory. We cover the other 2 periods, and we need to do this next week. The other thing I want to say before to get on to what we have to do today is this. When you are doing your work, I'm hopeful, I believe that this should have been told you in your first year and even last term. When you submit your work, we are able to see the similarity scores. The similarity score on Turnitin is an indication of plagiarism. So even you, when you submit your work, I believe Turnitin is able to give you the similarity scores. If that's not the case, tell me now that that's not the case. Kate, when you submit your work on Turnitin, does it give you the similarity score?
Yeah, it does.
Good. So Turnitin gives you similarity score. The similarity score tells us what you have in there that is word for word copied from other works that are out there. Even if you copy something word for word from something you've submitted before on Turnitin, Turnitin will pick it out, like your cover pages. You know, so whatever you submit. Now, does it mean that you cannot put things word for word in your work? You can. For instance, I encourage you all to use quotations in your work in these presentations. But the point is that you use quotations, you cite them. These are my sources. So if you have similarity scores up to 30%, we let it go. Normally, anything between 0 or between 1 to 20%, we don't even check the script. We'll not even look at the script. It's allowed. We'll not even look at the script at all. But once we see a similarity score of about 30%, we will look at the script. We will click on the similarity score, because when you click on the shaded box it gives you, yellow or blue or red, when you click on it, it will take you to the work and show you the things that are copied word for word and show you where they are copied from. So when your similarity score is 20% or below, we don't bother, because we know that it could be as a result of the quotations you might have in your work, your cover page, all of that. So we don't bother. But once your similarity score hits 30%, we look at it. So if someone's work is showing a similarity score of 30%, we will look at it. If it is just quotations only and they are well cited, 30%, we can let it go. Because, okay, it's just a number of quotations that they use, but these quotations are well cited. So it is not plagiarism. Because it's quotations, they're well cited. It's not plagiarism. But if it's 30% and it's word for word you've copied from somebody else and they are not cited, it's plagiarism, we will not let it go. Now, anything from 40% and above, unacceptable, you will have to correct that. We might give you a day or two to say, your work is showing a similarity score of 40%, do something about this. We might give you a day or two to do that. If you don't, you will get an F. A similarity score of 40% above, you will get an F. It's totally unacceptable. Even if you argue that, oh, it's quotations and you cited everything, it's unacceptable, because your work cannot just be full of quotations. In the first place, your work cannot just be full of quotations, even if you cite the sources. Your work cannot just be full of quotations, even if you cite the sources. Your own voice must come true. I'm saying this because these submissions that have been done, I've seen just a couple. Most of you are below 30%, but there's a couple that's above 40%. And I think I've gotten back to those who I saw that they were above 40% to say, hey, do something about this. It's grace for me to even tell you, do something about this. Normally, you have been told and warned about plagiarism. Normally, you've been told that when you submit the work on Turnitin, look for similarity scores. And normally, it is expected that as young adults, you will do the right things after you've been given instructions. So usually there would be no grace. You've submitted this work, you've submitted it in Turnitin. We see that it's 40% and above, we give you an F. So if I'm saying this to you right here, that I've seen some of you are above 40%, I'm giving you a day to go work on that, it's grace. It's not required for me to do that. So if you have other faculties that have not done that, don't go say, but Emmanuel did this. It's not required for us to do this. You have been told about plagiarism. You've been told that Turnitin gives you similarity scores. Anything above 30% is a problem. Anything above 40%, you get an automatic F. This is year 2, you're going to be year 3, you're going to be year 4. Where this happens in any other courses you do, whether the faculty tells you or does not tell you, does not even matter. It's your responsibility that when you submit work, look at the similarity scores. If it goes into dangerous territories, 30% and above, do something about it. Even if you think that, hey, this work, I'm submitting this work right at the deadline, I don't have time, you better send an emergency email to the faculty. Put urgent on the email or put emergency on the email. That's why it's good to have our emails, good to have our chats, good to have our WhatsApp. You send something immediately, urgent, emergency. Submission time is almost up. I've just submitted my work. I'm seeing a similarity score of 40%. Please, could you give me a little more time to do something about it? Again, it is your responsibility, not mine, not any other faculty. It's your responsibility. You don't take it seriously, you will get an F. Believe me, you will get an F. I'm not kidding here. I'm not telling you you might get an F. I'm telling you, very definite, you will get an F. Because even if I let it go, even if the second examiner at GCU lets it go, believe me, the external examiner, because your work also goes through to an external examiner, the external examiner will not let it go. You will get an F. So, word is enough for the wise. What we're going to do today is pretty simple. This is week 12. I mean, week 11 reading. If you look at your handbook, we still have to do week 11 because we've done our readings right up to week 10, and we now have week 11 to do. And week 11 is looking at I should actually be asking you what week 11 is looking at, not telling you. I should be asking you because you should be familiar. So who is up to date on what we are looking at for week 11 studies, discussion, readings? Who is up to date? What are we looking at week 11?
Australia and New Zealand.
Thank you. You're right. Australia and New Zealand. That's what we're looking at in week 11. Now, I'm going to put you into 2 rooms, and you're going to look at the reading from, you're going to give me your takeaway, but beyond giving me your takeaway, this is also what I want you to give me when we come back together. What is the imagination of Africa in this article? It's a short article. So you're going to give me, what is the article about? What is he talking about in the article? What is he talking about in the article? in the article. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
All right, my Zoom is acting up right now. My Zoom is acting up right now.
Do you think you can accept, let me into the room with my other device?
Yes, but as I just said, my Zoom is acting up. It could even be your device that has made your Zoom acting up, that I can't press any control. All my controls are sort of like frozen.
Oh.
Yeah, all my controls are frozen. So I might have to, not might, I'm going to step out for a minute and come back in because all my controls are frozen. I can't do anything. Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. So I'm going to put you into two rooms and I'm going to share the reading with you all. What's the best way to share the reading now? Let's see. Yeah, there's someone in the waiting room, so admit. And here is the I'm going to put the reading in the Google chat so you can pick up the reading from there. All right, done that. If you look at the Google chat for the Google chat room SSY2, you'll see the reading there. I've shared the reading there. So two things, what is the reading about? And then how does it imagine Africa? So those are the two things I want you to do there. And you got 30 minutes to do this. So putting you in the rooms now. All right, so the rooms are opened. I hope you can see the reading in the Google chat. The rooms are open. Please join your room. Please join your room. It's 42 minutes past the hour right now. I will bring us back together at 10 minutes past the next hour. Hi, Lakshmi. Please join room 2. Anastasia, you were in which room?
I was in the second room. I think I was ejected from the call.
You were with who? You were with Amy, Kate, and Laxmi?
Amy, Kid, Lakshmi, and Wema. Yes.
All right, let me put you back there.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. So without,
Good to be back.
without much ado, room one, you had two key questions. What's the reading all about, and how does it imagine Africa? So room one, Amiga 3, LC, Litabo, and Wara.
Okay, so when we looked at the article, we found 2 points that we would like to talk about. One of the points was regarding the hammer and nail, and how the outside countries came in and hammered down their laws in order to stop resistance from other parties. And they did this using violence and made it look like that violence could create peaceful coexistence. Then another point that we looked at was the treaties, such as the Truth and Reconciliation Treaty in South Africa, and how these treaties that were signed after decolonization were made to sound like everyone could live in peace and coexist and could generally just live together, but it was still a trap for the outside companies to get away with what they've done. So that's what we saw it as.
And how does it imagine Africa? Room one, how does the article imagine Africa? Amy Gatwi, Elsie Akayo, Litabo Mwara, how does the article imagine Africa? Looks like room one has no answer. Room two, what's the article about and how does it imagine Africa?
So in our group, we focused on the notion of the nail and hammer, like group one, and also the different ways in how the treaties with regard to the native in New Zealand and the treaties with regard to the natives in America were different and how their execution differed. And then another part that really got our attention is how, like, the writer put the emphasis on how there cannot be any kind of cooperation if research is not done with the understanding of the culture of the group being researched, like to find common grounds and compromise. And then we were discussing how in, like, compared to New Zealand, with relation to Africa, when it comes to Africa, the culture that is talked about is assumed to be what they think African culture is, rather than the researchers trying to really get in touch with the different population of Africa and trying to understand what African culture was before the culture of the colonizers were forced upon us. So there can't be a proper foundation for cooperation because even that culture is assumed with regards to what they believe is African culture.
Okay, thank you both. Now, it beats me why you're all still having problems with understanding this whole thing about the imagination and answering a question about how does this article you have read imagine Africa? Because the response you're giving are your own responses that are about reflections you have done. I just want what the article says about Africa. And from what the article says about Africa, what is it the author is trying to communicate about Africa in that article? The article only mentions Africa only in one place, but what is it saying about Africa in that one place? Imagine somebody who knows nothing about Africa reading this article, seeing what the author says in that one place in the article, what will that person come away with? What is the message the person will come away with about Africa? Reading this article and seeing that one place where the author talks about Africa. For somebody who knows nothing about Africa, Emi Gatui, what do you think the person will come away with? Reading that article, seeing what it says about Africa. So in the first place, Emi Gatui, what does this article say about Africa? The place where it mentions Africa, what does it say? Emi Gatui.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Possibly someone looking at it from the outside could look at Africa as a place for
What
where
does the
they
article
can
say? First thing is, what does it say? Tell me exactly what the article says about Africa, not your interpretation. Just tell me exactly what the author said about Africa in the article.
um 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 it okay. I can't see anywhere where it directly quoted Africa except for the um
Use your search edit function on the PDF, put Africa there. It will take you to exactly the place where the article mentions Africa. So who read it and saw the place where the article mentions Africa? What does it say in that place? Who can tell me?
When they were talking about the claims being breached and they referred to South Africa.
Can you read this? Can you read the sentence?
To hear claims that the treaty was being breached, the simple act by the Labour government created a structure, however imperfect, to begin to talk about dispute. It served a similar purpose to the South African Truth and Reconciliation Commission, stemmed from the Promotion of National Unity and Reconciliation Act 34 of 95, sorry.
Right. So did everyone get that? What the article actually says about Africa? Class, did everyone get that? Hello?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
On my screen, I go to edit. This is my PDF page, edit. This is edit. I come to find, and I type in that box, Africa. So I type in the Africa, I just put next. And it looks for it, and it comes right down here. And this is the sentence that has just been read. This simple act by the Labour government created a structure, however imperfect, referring to the Labour government in New Zealand. This simple act by the Labour government created a structure, however imperfect, to begin to talk about disputes. Obviously, disputes between the indigenous people and the European descendants who moved to New Zealand. Land disputes, cultural disputes. So the Labour government created a structure like a commission, a tribunal, This simple act by the Labour government created a structure, however imperfect, to begin to talk about disputes. It served a similar purpose to the South African Truth and Reconciliation Commission, stemming from the Promotion of National Unity and Reconciliation Act of 1995. So you've read this statement. The New Zealand government, they're having issues between the European descendants who moved there and the indigenous people. Injustice, loss of land, cultural domination. And the government has now created a tribunal to look into these issues. And this author is saying that this act by the Labour government is serving a similar purpose like the South African Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So if you were just to read this, what does it say about Africa? What is the author passing across about Africa from this? Anyone wants to try now? Who wants to try before we close up the class? Who wants to try? Amy Oklete, you want to try? What does it say about the author's imagination of Africa? What can you deduce from this about the author's imagination about Africa?
Not much, to be honest, but I think the fact that he refers to the South African Truth and Reconciliation Commission, I think he's trying to say that like people are aware that the treaty was breached, but at the same time they are beginning to talk about it. So I think that's all I could get out of it.
Okay. The author is saying that what somebody can get from this is that the author is showing that there's a similar problem in Africa to what he's talking about. He's talking about a problem. He's showing that there's a similar problem like this in Africa, but they have put in place a process. They've put in place a process to deal with it. Is this simply not what the author is passing across here? Laxmi. Litabo, is this not what the author is passing across here? That there's a similar problem in Africa, in South Africa to be more specific, but they've put in place a process to deal with it. Is that not what the author is passing across here, Litabo?
Yes.
Kate, do you get that sense from reading this part of the article?
I do. Yes. I do.
The question then becomes, when you were now in your group and you were to read the article and discuss it and discuss that second question, the author's imagination about Africa, why couldn't you arrive at that same perception? That the author here is simply, where the author mentions Africa is with respect to passing across this message. Oh.
Sorry. I think it's because when we were in the group and you mentioned imagination, we were really focusing on an element that would show like some kind of perception of Africa, but this specific segment is more like it's just a fact.
It's a fact, not a perception.
From what like we were looking for, no, like I didn't perceive it as a perception because it's a fact.
But is it not a perception from the author? It's a fact. Is it not a perception from the author? Is it not a perception the author is sharing? Does it imply that perceptions are always wrong or perceptions are not facts?
I feel like perceptions are based upon feelings or emotion, whereas facts are facts that cannot be, you can't really disagree with a fact because it's factual data. It's just being presented, but it's not like an imagination.
Every fact can be challenged, and facts come from imagination. Go back, everybody here, go back and read the Hume article, because you need to get this thing right, even when you write your essay. The facts we perceive, the facts we agree with, still have their roots in the imagination. Imagination does not imply that a thing is a fiction. I advise everyone, go back and read the Hume article. I'll repeat it. Go back and read the Hume article and read it well. Because as you go from your presentation to your essay, you will need to show a clear understanding of what we mean by the imagination and how it shows itself up in different ways. In your presentations that you have done, a lot of you got it wrong about imagination. Some of you, of course, got it right. But for your essay, you don't have room to get it wrong, because it's got to be part of your introduction in your essay. Getting the facts about the imagination right. The author can have many understandings about Africa, but in this article, the one the author is passing across, using to make an impact to his readers, is that I'm talking about this problem. This problem also exists in Africa, but see, they've put in place a process to work it out. Note, the author is not African. The author is writing to a New Zealand audience and a global audience, but he's using Africa in a positive sense in this article. There are many negative senses in which Africa is used, but here he's using Africa in a positive sense. He wants New Zealanders to resolve this issue between the European descendants and the indigenous people. And he's using many examples, but one of the examples he's using is Africa in a positive sense, as a place where this sort of thing exists. But look, they've put in place a process to deal with it. So this is where the author's imagination about Africa is definitely positive. And he's using it in that sense. Do you follow, class? Can't hear anyone.
Yes.
Amy, is it clearer? Amy Gatui, is it clearer? So next week, we're going to look more at the essay and how you're going to deal with responding to the essay next week. And today, I've just introduced us to that. One of the big issues is your understanding of the imagination. So before the class next week, there are two things you need to do. Agree when we're going to have the 2 hours next week, 2 periods or single period. But before the class next week, make sure you go back to slide number 1, the very first slide, and read up the Hume article again. Make notes. Make notes. Do the work required for you to understand what Hume is passing across when Hume talks about the imagination. This course revolves around that understanding of the imagination, what we mean by the imagination. We don't mean it the way the ordinary person on the street or the market person means it, because some of you are still thinking about that word imagination the way the person on the street thinks when they hear that word imagination? Follow a scholarly approach when you use that word imagination. Go back, read Hume, and look for other works that you can find about a scholarly approach to the imagination. You need to get it right. So, see you all next week. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. Cheers.